There are a lot of assholes on The Sopranos. From Paulie Walnuts to Feech LaManna to Tony Soprano himself, the DeMeo crew and Lupertazzi family presiding over it is basically filled top to bottom with blowhards, loudmouths, and full-blown criminal sociopaths. Out of all of them, though, there is one asshole who reigns supreme above the rest, looking down with an imperious gaze from high atop Asshole Mountain. Ralph Cifaretto. Ralph is a sleazy, hairpiece-wearing cokehead sadomasochist who loves nothing more than bucking authority and fucking people over. Ralph doesn't respect anyone.
You don't respect nada.
He does what he wants, when he wants, with little regard for the consequences. And he gets away with it for a long time because he's weirdly likable. And more importantly, he's a great earner. In the world of La Cosa Nostra, the ability to bring in money is everything. The whole reason this thing of ours exists. Without money, there's no power. And power is all that separates a made man from some sorry schlub working a 9 to 5. Bosses like Tony Soprano know this. They might talk a big game about various mafia values.
Fuck that honor and loyalty shit.
But at the end of the day, all they care about is who's making their pockets fat. And Ralph is the guy who does that. The problem with Ralph is that he doesn't respect boundaries. He takes liberties. He crosses the line too often.
Habitually, he's a habitual line stepper.
Some of this comes down to his habit.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Some of this is simply his personality. If there's an opportunity to make a wisecrack, Ralph will make it, irrespective of whose expense the joke comes at.
You're a captain, Ralphie, when I say you're a captain.
And I'm going to turn up my hearing aid so I don't miss it.
He's the class clown cutting up for his friends. The highly intelligent, too cool for school ADHD head case who can't quite get with the program. Ralph is focused on the bottom line as much as anybody. Locked in when it comes to getting money. He's just not disciplined in his personal life, and it ends up spilling over into work. We're talking about a man with deep-seated psychological issues, beyond the germ-fearing neuroses of Paulie Walnuts,
Bacterium virus migrate from the solar.
or the mercurial rage and misery of Tony himself.
I got the will by the balls and I can't stop feeling like I'm a fucking loser.
The twists in Ralph's brain take him somewhere else entirely. Violence has a different currency for him. He doesn't inflict pain on people because it's a necessary part of the job, beating someone up so they'll pay their tab, or go off on a rival to protect allies, honor, or loved ones. He does it for the simple pleasure of watching another man bleed. The pain and cruelty are ends in themselves rather than means. His idea of a joke is almost blinding Georgie. It's like the look of terror on a victim's face is equivalent to comic surprise to him. The impulse to ambush, married to his sense of humor, as much as his prey drive. He's the photo-negative Rick James of organized crime. When Ralph's on, he's on, but he's not shelf-stable. Ralph is a radioactive isotope toppling toward disorder. The rules that govern the Mafia's moral universe simply don't apply to him. Even when he's not actively flouting the conventions against hard drug abuse, he's flirting with gray areas that might get him dumped in a trunk. Dating the boss's sister and having her doing perverted things to his backdoor entrance, beating a pregnant prostitute to death in the Bada Bing's parking lot. The mob is fucked up enough to look the other way on these heinous offenses, but only because Ralph's a cash cow. It's his financial force field, his bulletproof vest. Ralph is too big to fail. He's a Wall Street bank getting bailed out during the housing crisis. He's some high-echelon client who never graced the published pages of the Epstein files. He's every dirty secret a society refuses to look at because to do so would prove inconvenient and possibly disastrous for social order. Ralph's greatest sin from this standpoint is his notorious joke about Ginny Sack.
Oh, speaking of 98 pounds, I hear Jenny Sachs getting a 95-pound mole taken off her ass.
A comment like this would be offensive under any circumstances to any group of people. But in a world that runs on respect, this is actually close to a capital crime. Word gets back to Johnny Sack about what Ralph said, and he's understandably livid. The insult isn't just directed at the love of his life and mother of his kids. It's a direct assault on his honor itself. Threatens his standing. How can he be a man and tolerate such a thing? He can't. So he pushes Carmine to sanction a hit on this sick son of a bitch. This is where Ralph Cifaretto unwittingly exposes the rot at the center of La Cosa Nostra, the ugly infection that's riddled the roots of this once great organization. Carmine tells him no. He says they can tax his ass, but there can't be any bloodshed. There's too much money at stake. And this sets Johnny off. And the lead up to the talk with Carmine, Sack has gotten so distraught over Ralph's shit-talking that he goes after an innocent member of the old April crew and beats him down in the middle of the street, whipping out his dick and pissing on him for good measure. If Donnie Cafranza were a soldier rather than a mere associate, this could be a death sentence for Sack. As it stands, Sack only has to make the most meager form of restitution, promising to send Donnie's mother something nice. But it doesn't end there. Johnny puts a hitman on the job and only calls him off at the last second after finding his wife down in the basement, stuffing her face with candy, her protest about trying hard to lose weight, a clear lie. On the other end of the telescope is Tony sending Chris and Silvio over to the creepiest house in Rhode Island to organize the death of Johnny Sack for not letting things go. Ralph's failure to keep his mouth shut almost ends the lives of two men and later provides cover for Tony when he's able to blame Johnny for Ralph's disappearance. Ralph reveals himself as a catalyst for conflict here, a shit-stirrer of the highest order. He is an agent of chaos, a trickster god on par with Loki or the large invisible rabbit from Jimmy Stewart's Harvey. Ralph's appetites ironically mirror the unstable passions the mafia actively seeks to domesticate. All that gambling, loan sharking, protection racket, prostitution, and pimping bullshit, that's supposed to be a lure for the suckers outside the organization, a hook to separate the unwitting customer from his hard-earned cash. It's okay to dabble in these vices yourself once in a while, goes the wisdom, but only within reasonable limits. But Ralph isn't the kind to listen to that type of talk. Moderation in all things is the opposite of his ethos. He likes getting more than his feet wet. It's like this guy never watched Scarface or listened to Biggie Small's 10 Crack Commandments. He's getting high on his own supply and mixing business and family. He goes out of his way to get Jackie Jr. involved in roughing up customers, gassing Little Lord Fuckpants up so he robs Eugene Pontecorvo's card game and gets him killed for his trouble. Even when Ralph's not actively being a horrible person, disaster seems to stalk him. His son Justin is shot with an arrow in a freak accident and ends up in a vegetative state. The stables where Pio Mai is kept burned to the ground and killed Tony's beloved horse, which Ralph denies having anything to do with. Murdering a beautiful, innocent creature is certainly within Ralph's wheelhouse, and he may well have been the one to set the blaze, but the strange thing is that in some ways Ralph showed signs of improvement toward the end. He apologized to Rosalie for how he acted in the aftermath of Jackie Jr.'s death. He sought spiritual counseling from Father Mooch and Flirt. He was trying to be more decent, or at least not so destructive. The sad truth imparted by Ralph Cifaretto is that redemption often comes too late. And while it might be inappropriate to speculate as to the state his soul was in when he crossed over under the brutalizing weight of Tony Soprano's anaconda hands, from a purely practical standpoint, Ralph was already a dead man walking. His earthly karma more than sufficient to bury him even before he cracked wise about Tony eating beef and sausage by the fucking truckload. More than any of his other crimes, though, Ralph's biggest sin was calling bullshit on the whole notion that the mafia has some sort of morality to it. He holds a mirror up to Tony's face and makes him see his own ugliness and hypocrisy, forces him to lash out and smash the accusation before he has to really grapple with who he is, deep down. When Tony's choking the life out of him, saying you killed her, he's either talking about the horse or about Tracy, the stripper girlfriend pregnant with Ralph's child, the woman Tony recommended have an abortion. The sentimentality he expresses for certain animals and people extends only so far, you see. He's a pragmatist at heart, a man of ample appetites himself. As is often the case in life, the people we hate most don't necessarily differ from us all that greatly. The intensity of our disdain for them seems to be in direct proportion to how similar they are to us. The shit Tony talks about Hesh being greedy, for instance, is undercut by Tony's own cheapness. The vile callousness exhibited by Ralph hits home for a reason. Beneath all of the posturing, all of the grandstanding and casting of stones, we can see these men for what they actually are. Wolves gathering at the edge of the forest, hungry ghosts drifting toward a quiet village, vampires who can't bear witness to their own reflections. Ralph Cifaretto, boyfriend to a murdered whore, father to an incapacitated son, commander of a crew of the North New Jersey Mafia, has the saving grace of knowing who he really is as the curtains come down. No tormented therapy sessions, no cat and mouse with the psychiatrist every Wednesday at 3, no pretending he's something he's not. Ralph Cifaretto is a real piece of shit, the genuine article, the embodiment of everything that's asked of a man of so-called honor. in this thing of ours.